Welcome everybody to a rather unusual We Need to Talk About Ghosts. Why? Is it because Kevin's walking down the stairs? No, that's not the reason. The reason is this is not your standard We Need to Talk About Ghosts. Kevin walks past drying machine. If you hear any sort of skittling or scuttling about, it's because Kevin has bought himself a hamster. Say hello to Lilu. Or Lulu. To be honest, I went into Pet a Home and there was a lovely little rubber dwarf, I think they're called, hamster. And she was once part of a pair, but the person she was with passed away. And she's only like 6 months old. So she was there on her own and I was like, excuse me, shouldn't these be in pairs? Hero that I am. And they said, yeah, they should. That's why she's up for adoption. Do you have one yourself? I was like, no, but I'll take her. And they were like, okay. And now I have a hamster. And she's gorgeous. And we play. Anyway, welcome to We Need to Talk About Ghosts. It is a normal episode, although it doesn't seem like it. Well, when I say normal, it's not normal. We're going to talk about ghosts. Don't worry. But I need to make a few announcements. Okay? Brace thyself. First and foremost, the last 2 weeks there's been no main episodes out. Okay? There's been a lot of personal stuff going on. And I think some of you genuinely will be shocked and, I don't know, maybe affected if you've been with us from the start. But it's not been pleasant for anyone involved. Not as in like falling outs. But me and Becca have separated, and she now lives in her house where I lived with the neighbour's cat, and I am buying my dad's house after his death. And we tried each and every way to make this work, believe me. This is not a decision that's been taken lightly. And it's also an upsetting decision for both of us because we're still both amicable, we still both love each other, we're still both exceptionally friendly, we speak daily, we went to pictures the other day. We both just decided every way we looked at it, one of us would have to give up something fundamental to what they want out of life for the other person to be happy. And it's not really fair to ask either of us to do that. So, as upsetting as it was, we kind of had to come to that conclusion and that decision. And that's why everything's been up in the air of late. There's obviously been a lot of things to be discussed, things to be moved. You know. Well, I'm sure you've all been in relationships before. You've all fallen out of relationships before. You don't need me to tell you how it is. There's never a right time for things like this to happen, obviously. But what I would say is, I mean, he follows that with a but. No, what I would say is, we all know, I've already announced, the final ever win tag will be on Halloween. Fittingly, Becca, because we are still talking, we are still friends. I love her. She loves me. We're friendly. It's amicable. She's stated she will join us for our final ever win tag. She will do her Becca's Ready Corner. And, yeah, it'll be a fitting way to sign off what's been a wonderful 7 years now, is it? Don't forget, though, it's being replaced. So, not by a paranormal show. I'm dropping the G. Drop the G, baby. Drop the lowercase g. It's going to become We Need to Talk About. It's just going to be me, obviously. Because I don't know whether you've ever tried to ferry your ex into your house to do a recording once a week without pay. And it doesn't go down too well. So, I can hear you all now saying, pay her! But, no. Anyway, and it's going to be like a video podcast, which means you don't need to do anything different. It's It will go as video format on the likes of YouTube, etc. And it'll go as audio format on the likes of wherever you're listening to this. So you're not going to miss out. The only thing that will take place, change-wise, is that if you're interested in going over and following that, when it comes out, it won't be out until November. Thereabouts. When that does come out, I'm going to keep this feed that you're listening to right now on, so that I can announce what you need to search for, where you need to go to try and find it. But the reason why I'm doing this on the handheld right now, today, here and now, is to kind of expectation set. And what I mean by that is, it's not right. It doesn't feel right. I said to our Patreons, because obviously they get the scoop before everyone else, it hasn't felt right the last few weeks trying to do a win tag and the knowledge of what was going on. And obviously you guys who aren't Patreons weren't aware of the situation. And I swore the Patreons to secrecy, and God bless them, they did. But it just didn't feel right. And when I said, even when I said on the Facebook, there's been 2 no main shows the last 2 weeks. I'll explain all on Monday. Somebody even put, give Becca and TNC a big hug. And it was a bit like, yeah. And the thing is, and I've said this to Becca, so this isn't like me going behind Becca's back. Like, TNC was my screensaver and is the picture of me and her in my wallet. Do you know what I mean? So believe me when I say none of this has been easy. No decision has been took lightly. So anyway, getting back to why it's relevant that I'm doing this on the handheld and expectation setting and all that malarkey. Well, it's rather simple. Because realistically, WinTag was a 3-person operation. Well, it was a 2-person, 1-cat operation. And it doesn't have the same feel as a 1-man operation, although that's how it started. As I said on the post, it has to be me up to 11. Current situations included. I'm managing to get to a 5, some days at best. And I can't do it. Quite simple. I'll hold my hand up and say it, not in a big, whoa, pity me way, just as in fact, I'm honest enough to say, yeah, I'm not there currently. So what we're going to do is a little bit weird, if I'm being honest. Well, it's not that weird, actually. So I think we could all agree I could do with a bit of a break. Now, it so happens that the other 2 shows that I do, The Dark Paranormal and True Crime Tuesday, they both end their seasons next week. And they end them for 3 weeks. Or back in the 3rd week? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think back in the 3rd week. So for example, Dark Paranormal releases on a Friday. It will miss 2 Fridays and return on the 3rd Friday. So We Need to Talk About Ghosts is going to follow suit. It's going to have this, hello. And then we'll miss the next 2 Mondays. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go into a sort of, because we've got to get up to October. It's quite a lot of shows. Unless, of course, I have a surge of energy and think, I can do it. I just don't feel like I can. And I don't want to disserve you. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so what I'll do is I'll probably do one of these type of episodes followed by 2 Patreon episodes. And then another one of these type of episodes, and another 2 Patreon episodes. And that should take us nicely into the Halloween goodbye. What I would say is nothing changes for our patrons. The only thing that changes is the name of the patron. We'll drop the ghost, but we'll still have the 2 shows we already have on there every week. We'll have our ramble, and we'll have our Patreon paranormal podcast, because I love ghosts, so we'll still talk about them. And the only thing that changes for patrons is they get more content. So they'll get say an extra 20 minutes video chat once a week. Anyone interested in that sort of jazz, head over to patreon.com/we need to talk about ghosts. And then what I'll do eventually as well is try and port over all the episodes on this feed to Patreon, just so they're there for people to listen to. Because eventually there's no point me keeping this line open because I'm paying for it, you know what I mean? When I'm not realistically putting any shows out, other than like some sort of nuclear Russian message going, please redirect yourself to this podcast. I don't know how I've done the voice. But, so, after the Halloween special, maybe for about a month and a half, it'll stay open. And then it'll disappear. Yeah? Sad that. But, at that point, I should have migrated all of the stuff onto Patreon. And that's not to try and get you all on Patreon. Join if you want, join if you don't. It's patreon.com/we need to talk about ghosts. I know it's not. It's patreon.com/talk about ghosts. Is it? Patreon.com/we need to talk about ghosts. I think it's one of the two. Anyway, that's where you'd go. So yeah, but we did say also, I did say I was going to explain. Hopefully I've explained. Please no one respond with any suggestions, as happened a couple of times earlier. But people was like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? It's like, yep. Kind of know the situation a bit better, but I do appreciate the suggestion. Yeah. Sadly, sometimes life just takes you in different directions. And this is one of them. And we're not sad. Well, we are sad, but we're not enemies. There's no animosity. It's all good, and it'll all work out fine. And TNC's at her home. That's the one thing, I couldn't take it away from where she lives. And she's lived there now for 2 years. And as much as it breaks me heart into tiny pieces, it is one of them. You've got to be the bigger man. So, anyway, let's talk about ghosts. Because if there's one thing I find gets me out of a rut, it's talking about the dead. Oh, but before we talk about the dead, let me just tell you about a lovely little embarrassing incident that happened to me today. Well, not today. Although yesterday I did scrape the side of my new car, which, life just keeps throwing me bowls of cherries. But, yeah, but I have got a hamster. But she'd be dead now. Anyway, so, you know what? Seriously, I have lost my phone. I keep mislaying it. Anyway. So, basically, it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before, I think, maybe. I basically want to try and dye my hair back to its natural colour, but not its natural colour, its natural colour. I know that sounds counterintuitive. What I mean is, its natural colour right now is like ghost. It's like there is no pigment in the hair. It's like see-through, it's transparent. But there's hair there. It's like a fibre optic light, that hasn't been plugged in. So, but in my mid-30s, or right, mid-40s now, it was perfect. Pardon my, big-headedness. But it was commentable on. People would stop me in the street and say, your hair's amazing. Genuinely, I'm not lying. You can ask Becca if you see her in the street. We'll ask her on the Halloween special, but they would. And it was a lovely sort of perfect two-tone, salt and pepper, but in bunches, like a load of salt, a load of pepper, not like speckled, do you know what I mean? Which meant that if you styled it, it would go into some wonderful colours. So I want to go back into that style. So the first person that I tried was the one who brought out the 3 Christmas trees. And I was like, what are you doing to me? And one was black, one was orange, and one was white. And she went, to go to your silver, you're going to have to go orange for a month. And I was like, well, I'm going to leave right now. And this guy I went to was like, I don't know what she's on about. No, ignore that. Basically, we'll just use a cleanser on your hair, no bleach. Use it for the next 2 weeks, every other day. It'll eventually strip away the temporary dye that you've got on, which is like Lego black. You'll go back to your natural hair colour. And then what we'll do is we'll put some, I think he said low light or high or whatever. He said, but we'll get to that colour that you want. No problem. Don't worry about it. All good. I was like, really? That easy? He was like, yeah, that easy. And then he said, today's half price. It's only £25. And I was like, oh, yippee. And then panicked about what the rest's going to cost me. But I may as well add that to the bill of the car that I'm going to pay for. Anyway, let's talk finally, over half an hour in, well, over half of the show in, about the paranormal. And I thought what we talk about today is taken from a website which is hysterically named travelmanitoba.com, where obviously they're trying to boost tourism to Manitoba. And this article is called, and I quote, 5 of Manitoba's most terrifying tales and legends. Well, that's going to get the public driving it. I mean, it would me. First is the paranormal activity in Fort Garry Hotel. Now, some of you may know this place. It looks fantastic, like beautiful. It says, in truth, well, where's the lie? Well, Fort Garry Hotel was just the right aesthetic for a haunting. The hotel was built in 1913 by the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway in the popular chateau style, with an exterior featuring bold, steep-sloped roofs and a grand interior with wide hallways and high ceilings. And it's entirely not uncommon to feel a chill up your spine when wandering the castle-like hotel at night, especially given its history of hauntings. The room in question is number 202, where guests have reportedly been woken by ghostly figures standing at the foot of their bed. Should we find out what the origin of that story is? I think it's going to tell us. The origins of the haunting, I knew it, are said to have started with a pair of honeymooners, who booked into room 202 just before the bride got sick. When her husband returned after getting medicine, when her new husband left to get her medicine, he never returned. He had a car accident on the way. A combination of shock and grief sent the bride over the edge, and she committed suicide by hanging in the hotel room closet. Wow. I put the honey in honeymoon. Frig me. Today, the ghost, should not be plural, oh no, suppose he died in a car wreck, has been spotted grieving in room 202, as well in the lounge, where she weeps for lost love. I like the fact that she goes, I'm so sad in my wardrobe. I'm going to go and have a drink. Anyway, Peg Square Tours offers a Broadway ghost walk where brave participants can learn more about the alleged hauntings at one of Winnipeg's famed hotels. Then there's a UFO story, which we're not going to cover, and the reason being, we're not a UFO show. Occult mysteries at Manitoba Legislative Building. Let's find out about that. Would you be surprised to hear that Winnipeg is home to occult clues, hidden in plain sight, right before our eyes, and other oxymorons? If you live downtown or venture into our city's core for work or pleasure, chances are you've passed our incredible legislative, building. What most people don't know, however, is that the building is Masonic in nature, rife with the occult. See, Masons and the occult, I need to look more into it, but I think there's a massive misconception there. I do. Only because last year I got harassed by the Freemasons. Literally. And again, if Becca was here, she would back me up. I'm talking about 2 phone calls a week, 2 voicemails a week from different people. Oh, it was weird. It was so weird. Anyway, there are a number of design choices throughout the legislative that are particularly unsettling. Built in proportion to the original Solomon's Temple. What? The Manitoba Legislative Building's Great Hall is a perfect square, with each side being 66.6 feet long. Wow. According to architectural historian Frank Albo, this could simply be a symbol for the power of the sun, but it could also reference the occult work and is commonly associated with the number of the beast of Revelation 13. Directly beneath the Golden Boy is a room with a dome ceiling and an 8-pointed star, i.e. a circular altar and symbol of the Babylonian goddess Ishtar. That may not be creepy on its own, but the room is also designed like a sacrificial chamber, with the veined marble floor being a metaphor for the victim. And while that is absolutely creepy, the building is actually a balance of good and evil, with a number of protector beasts and spirits guarding its walls, from a pair of bison to the threatening head of Medusa. I would kind of say it sounds like you're trying to put Medusa in the good camp. You know, Medusa, head full of snakes who turns people to stone, in the she will protect the building camp. And then again, I suppose it says Medusa's head. So maybe, was it Perseus? I don't know. Becca would know. Anyway. Apparitions of St. Andrews on the Red. What does on the red mean? We'll find out, maybe. How could we write a blog about creepy happenings and not include a really old church? They ask. And we do mean old. St. Andrews on the Red was completed in 1849 and is located outside the town of Selkirk on River Road. Indeed, it is the oldest stone church in Western Canada, and as such has its fair share of paranormal activity. People who grew up in the area can probably remember daring their friends to walk widdershins, or backwards, why not say backwards, around the church 3 times, with the expectation that you would disappear. That's why they probably didn't do it. While that likely did not come to fruition, there are another number of reports from this church that led to its haunted notoriety. Those who have dared visit the church at night have reported disembodied red eyes that float through the cemetery, organs that play spontaneously, a mysterious woman cloaked in white, and recurring nightmares of rattling church gates. Recurring nightmares. I've also found that phrase that they just used there a bit like, says who? You know, the disembodied red eyes. Because there's 2 ways you can take that, and one of them doesn't mean disembodied. So disembodied red eyes would be like if the 2 eyes popped up and then separated and floated about on their own and then rejoined. You could say then they're disembodied. They're like not part of a physical body. Whereas if it's just 2 eyes together that float about, it could be a bat, or it could be whatever paranormal entity you want to place there, with like speed of the panther, power of the bear. That was as far as my Thundercats knowledge goes. I do apologise. So Manitoba. It sounds like something people say when, like, I don't know, you're really stoned or something. Not that I smoke pot, but I could imagine if you're really stoned and somebody tells you something that is so unbelievable you don't believe it. And you say, Manitoba. That's where I'm going to start using it like anyway. Next time I smoke pot and somebody tells me something I find unbelievable. Anyway. Yes, I thought we'd go out with a whimper rather than a bang. But we will actually go out with quite a big bang on the 31st of Halloween. The 31st of Halloween? 31st of October. Because we'll do it properly. And Becca will be back on. And we'll get sniffs from the neighbour's cat. And it'll all be as it was. And we will lay the We Need to Talk About Ghost to rest. And it will be reincarnated as We Need to Talk About. Yeah. So, you know the way I had talkaboutghost.com as the website for We Need to Talk About Ghost.com. Because there was no We Need to Talk About Ghost.com, there was only talkaboutghost.com. I needed something for We Need to Talk About. And long story short, I've went for just the initials of the show, Winter. WNTTA.com. Now currently it's just a holding page of a very probably not going to be used podcast logo of me looking very moody, where I was holding a guitar and I've used like Canva magic to get rid of the guitar and look like I'm deep in thought when it was actually mid-verse of Grace by Jeff Buckley. Yeah. Interesting if you want to go and check that out. But what we're going to do is we're going to have, that's going to be like a bit of a bass thing, because we're going to have things on there like, sorry, I am paying attention. I'm also just aware that Lula seems to be preoccupied on the upper floor of her little maisonette. And she seems to be sniffing every corner as in to say, I can get out of here. No, you can't. She probably could. Is she okay? I'm sorry. So let me have a little check. Oh, she's done the little cutie. She's bringing up from the bottom bits of sawdust and bits of like bedding. And it looks like, I may be very wrong on this, but it looks like she's trying to build a bed upstairs. It's 2-tier. I had to get it a 2-tier one because, that's what she's doing. You okay, beautiful girl? Do you want to get out? Because if you want to get out, you have to tell me. I did teach you to speak English yesterday. I mean, yeah, it looks like she wants to get out. So, what I'm going to do is, we have this little game. Let me wash my hands. Oh, I'll just wash my hands, beautiful. Because if I don't wash my hands before I touch it each time, you get this reaction from her where she's like, you stink of human. So you kind of have to get any scent off you. It's difficult to do because sometimes you don't know your own scent. Do you know what I mean? Or, I appreciate this is no longer paranormal. The paranormal section of the podcast has ended now, so feel free to toddle off. Speak to you soon. Taddy bye. Anyone still interested in hamster uptake? Well, we're gonna... Do you want to stay on? I was going to end this now, or you could hear the absolute faff I have trying to get this hamster out of the cage. Because what I've got is a little ball, like a ball she can go in and she can then roll about. And she gets in of her own accord. And she's looking at me and saying, "Give me my ball." But I'm conscious I've just had salt and vinegar crisps and the smell might be too strong for her. But we'll see. Should we see if she goes for it? There we go. Well, this is the ball. The lid's a bugger too. Because when you get it in it, by the way, she's a Dworovsky dwarf hamster or something. Robo Dworovsky. Or something. Probably pronouncing it wrong. But either way, I'll just put you down a sec. Either way, it's the smallest and quickest hamster in the world. So, and she, when she was born, Valentine's Day. God bless her. Do you want to get in your ball? Go for a little walk? It's one of those balls you can get in and walk around. Do you want to go in your ball? Stink? Want to go in? Yeah? It looks like you want to get in. It's up to you. She got in and quickly jumped out. Go on, you can get in. It's okay. She's like, "No, I don't want to. I just wanted you to bring the ball." She's like, The Great Escape where, hello, beautiful. The Great Escape where they're like, I mean, she's got no chance of that much sawdust in there, but when they're emptying out dirt under the shoes and stuff. She's definitely up to something. I mean, if she wants to get in the ball, you can get in the ball and we'll take it. You can go for a little spin around the living room if you want. Do you want to? What do you think? It's up to you. I'm not going to chase you. So you can get in on your own free will. There you go. Oh, she jumped out. Anyway, you can see how this is going to go, guys. So unless she gets in the next attempt. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Let's try this. Because I could do this all day. I appreciate you couldn't. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Talking to you now. Come on. Dilu. Do you want to get in? I promise not to pick you up. Okay. See, every time I go to end the show, she heads towards it. Why don't you run through the tunnel into the... What a fun game. Run through the tunnel into the ball? No? Right, if you don't get into that ball in 4 seconds, I'm going to end the show. 1, 2, 3, 4. And she's got on her spinning wheel. There you go. You can just stay in your spinning wheel, my love. They literally said to me, get the biggest cage you can so she's got the most space to run. I've since looked at the cage I've got. I've got a cage for a fucking rabbit. And I've got a hamster the size of a child's shoe. So no wonder she's made up. She's like in a penthouse. I don't know. Anyway, so that's the standing, folks, of We Need to Talk About Ghosts. There will be no show for the next 2 weeks. The reason being, I'm taking a 2-week break from the other shows, and I may as well, and I need a break, more importantly, and I think I've deserved one, if he says so himself. Look at him, getting all cocky. Then, when we return, probably one more of these shows, a couple of Patreons, one of these shows, a couple of Patreons, and then we'll have our Halloween special, and that'll be a good old-fashioned show. And we'll sadly say goodbye. And if you want to join Patreon, everything stays the same on Patreon. Head to patreon.com/We Need to Talk About Ghosts. Got it right that time, didn't I, Leilu? See, her name's Lula. Leilu. I don't know. As long as it's 2 syllables and it's Lula, it's all right. Anyway. I love you all very much. I thank you for all your messages of support. I don't expect any off the back of this. It is a weird time all round. There is no fault, no blame from anybody involved in this situation. It's very amicable. So don't think there's one person done something over the other. There's not. There's nothing but love. Especially to you guys. So thank you guys. Being very supportive, and I appreciate it. I appreciate all your support over the years. And the thing is, I'm not going anywhere. You know, Becca only came in halfway through. Joking. But my point being is that I'm going nowhere from an attempt to make a laugh point of view. Other things are taking place there. Such is life, c'est la vie. You just got to get on with it, as Francis would say. In the meantime, and in between time, take care of yourselves and your brother. Tatty bye, everyone. Say goodbye, Lulu. You might have been able to hear her on her wheel then. She's nocturnal, which is fun. Found out that last night. Because I'm still sleeping on the couch until a bed arrives. And she didn't do frig all day. And as soon as midnight come, on the wheel she got. And she goes on the wheel so fast, she flies off into the wall. She's safe, she's fine. And she knows what she's doing, but there she goes, into the wall, and round she goes again. But, yeah, imagine that every hour on the hour. It's fun. And then when I had the cheek to take the blanket off her cage this morning at about 8 o'clock, she looked at me and said, some of us are trying to sleep. No, it's little Lulu. Leilu. La. Whatever I decide to call you. Okay. Tatty bye, everyone. Thank you for being so wonderful.